You are listening to a MetalExpressRadio.com interview. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Mick Burgess, and I'm joined backstage at the Riverside in Newcastle by Cristofer Johnsson from Therion. Hi, Chris, how are you doing?
Jolly good, sir.
You're a couple of shows into the UK tour already, so how have those shows been going?
I'm pretty okay. The UK is actually our weakest market in Europe, so it's a little bit weird that they actually booked us a full tour here, but it's fun to see some new cities like Newcastle, Aberdeen, Sheffield and Bristol. There's a lot of places where we haven't been.
That's right, I think you're playing 10 dates in total. I know the Newcastle show was added later on in the itinerary. So 10 shows right across the country. I'd say this is probably the biggest tour you've done to date.
Yeah, well, the UK we have to scale it down, small venues, small crowds, but it's a good thing to do, but you don't get too big-headed. And also it's fun because you get very close to the audience, so you can really interact.
It's a nice venue this as well. So you'll have the balcony, and have the people down right up close to the stage. So it's a good venue to play in.
Yeah, and people are usually also very grateful when you play towns where you never played before. They've been waiting for a long time. I mean, we've been around for 31 years. So
yes.
You've been a fan from the start. You've been waiting for a long time.
I've been waiting quite a long time, yeah. I think the last time we had the opportunity to see was when you were going to play at Prog Power at Cheltenham, and that was probably when you were a baby, so that was a long time ago. I mean, so what sort of show can the fans expect on this tour?
Well, most of the sets are old classics, and we'll do a couple of new tracks, and usually always some odd songs that we haven't played live before or haven't played in decades.
So a good mix, really.
Yeah, good mix.
Old, new, and classics, and obscure.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what the fans like. So basically, you'll be covering material from right across your career.
Not the very early albums. Nothing before '96.
Yeah. Because in the past, you've used a lot of guest vocals, vocalists Mats Levin, Dan Swano, Snowy Shaw, for example. Who have you got in the touring lineup for this tour?
Well, now we have Thomas Wikström as a permanent singer, so he's always with us. We have Chiara Malvestiti, which is a very good Italian soprano, spinto soprano. And we have Thomas Wikström's daughter, Linnea Wikström.
Yeah.
She's been with us for a bunch of years now. But she was only 19 when she got on with us. So.
Right. Because the show tonight in the UK too is part of a pretty huge European tour that you're doing until April, so you don't have many days off between now and April.
64 dates.
Yeah.
Still one more to come. And then we go home and wash the socks and the underwear, then we go to Latin America for another month.
Right. Yeah. So not a lot of rest. So are you apart from the ones places you're playing in England, are you visiting many new territories, new countries, new cities?
We've been pretty much everywhere already, but I think we're doing 28 shows until April. No, 28 countries until April, and then probably another 10 countries in Latin America.
I mean, it is good to see you out on the road, because I know recently you had a bit of trouble with your neck. How's that going? Is it all?
It's never going to be well. I mean, if you get a hernia, you will always be fucked. But we shortened down the set a little bit. Normally we'd play a bit over 2 hours. Now we do 1 hour 45 minutes. The last 15 minutes a bit heavy, but I do this physiotherapy and it's improving, but it will never be well. We'll stay at this level. I just have to avoid headbanging and no heavy lifting.
That's it. Is that what's caused it in the past, you think, or is it?
I wouldn't say it's a cause, but it doesn't help. That I need glasses. Well, I have glasses now when I sit in front of the computer, so I've been sitting like a vulture in front of the computer for 25 years, and that's the classic reason you get it, and that in combination with excessive headbanging on long tours is probably not ideal.
Was your latest album, Beloved Antichrist, coming out on Friday, I believe?
Yes.
Certainly in the UK. Are you excited ahead of its release?
I'm more relieved that we're finally done with it. It's so long. But I have to stress the fact that it's not an album. If I would say Jesus Christ Superstar, you wouldn't respond saying, hey, that's a great album. It's metal rock musical with operatic vocals. So it's written and designed for stage, just like a rock musical.
Yeah, it's 3 CDs in length. I think back in the olden days, this would have not just been a quadruple gatefold album. It would have been 6 LPs. I don't know. Back in the olden days of 20 minutes a side.
There will be a 6-pack release of it on vinyl soon. This month. However, we decided to make a regular tour first, and just play a couple of scenes from it, just like regular songs, because I don't think every fan is interested in the musical version. So they've been waiting since 2010 for another regular album. So it's fair enough that we just treat it as a musical release first. Yeah. But it's a bit backwards in a way that it's like releasing the soundtrack first and the movie later.
Yeah. I suppose people can, say like Nostradamus by Judas Priest, you could pick out songs that you want, put it on your own disc, miss out the intermission music in the middle, and just, you can put your favourite 10 songs and you can do what you want, listen to it all the way through, or pick out the best bits.
Yeah, people do what they want, but it's what they buy.
Yeah.
But a lot of the music doesn't make total sense unless you know the story.
Yeah. And what is the basic storyline, or is it?
It's loosely based on Vladimir Solovyev's A Short Tale of Antichrist. So it's like our version of Jesus Christ Superstar, except that it's Antichrist, so it's more suitable for a metal band, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, when you first approached your label about doing a 3.5-hour rock opera, what was their first reaction? Did they think you were nuts?
They've always been extremely supportive, and they know that we always stretch. We never just do another album, and there's always something that needs to be settled out of the box. So this time, we need more money. Okay, what is it this time? We need to record material worth of 4 albums actually, because we recorded 3.5 hours and cut it down to 3 hours.
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, we can't quadruple your budget. How about you give us 30% more, and we try to solve it. So that's what we did. As long as you have a reasonable input to what you want to do, and not just say, give us money because we're so pretty or whatever, But as long as you can explain what you want to do and it makes sense, they were always extremely supportive.
Yeah. I suppose when you sign Therion, though, you're not signing the Ramones or AC/DC. You're expecting something a little bit more ambitious than that. So maybe it wasn't quite the surprise that I thought it might have been. Yeah. So when did you start work on the actual album? I mean, does this stretch back years? When did you first get this idea to bring this to CD?
I had the idea of making a classical regular opera in 2002 or 3 or something like that, and I wrote the highlights, but I failed to write the transport music, or whatever you should call it, like the boring parts, if you so will. That you need to bridge between the highlights, and you use something called, what's the English word for that now? Recitative, I think it's called. Listeners may not know what that is. It's a mixture between speaking and singing, something that you use to move on quicker in the storyline. Because if you're gonna sing melodies all the time, it takes forever to say what you want to say when you sing opera. And I completely failed writing that. I guess I'm a bit damaged by rock music in my way of thinking. I need something interesting to happen, and if you have recitatives a lot, it just sounds too dull when I judge my own music. It's okay when I listen to somebody else's opera, but for my own stuff, I just feel I need more color and more melodies. So I didn't write a single note for the classical opera for a big number of years, and in 2012 I just thought, well, this is not leading anywhere, so let's redo those compositions into Therion instead, Therionize them so well. I had already in the past stolen a little bit from my own opera and put into a song called Blood of Kingu on the Cyrus B album. The beginning and the end were themes from the opera. So I thought, let's just do that with everything I have. And while doing that, I had the idea to keep the concept. Like, let's make a Therion opera instead. But like I said, you use this recitative to move on fast with the storyline, and now when we didn't work with that, it just grew and grew.
Yeah.
So in the end, we had 4 hours of music, and I realized we can't record 4 hours.
Yeah.
People are gonna die out of old age while listening to it. So we decided to cut it down to 3.5 hours, which we recorded, and then we have a lot of unreleased material now because we decided to shorten it down to 3 hours for the.
So you could use
release.
that at some point in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, how challenging is it for you to sort of fit the music to suit the lyrical content of the story, and how difficult it is to sort of fit everything together?
In the beginning, it's easy. People just write, and you find a scene for it, and just adapt the music.
Yeah.
But the more you write, the harder it gets, because then you have those scenes that are difficult for us. With a scene that requires music that is very far away from what we normally would write, like Palace Ball, which is a dancing scene in a ballroom that requires something very far away from metal. Yeah. And Jewels from Afar, for instance, it's a romantic love scene under the stars, has to be in major. You know, and usually write, well, like every metal band, we write in minor all the time. And of course you can just write something, but it has to be something good in major. That's the challenge, to write something good, which is very different from what you normally do that fits. And sometimes it can be difficult also that you have a certain set of characters. Sometimes it's a monologue, so you have to write all the vocal melodies for a tenor, for instance, because he's singing alone. Or it could be a duet with 2 specific type of singers. I'm not really used to do that. We just write whatever we like, and if we like the song, we record it and release it. So that took a lot of the time in the end. I mean, the first 75% was fairly easy to write, and the last 25 was tough.
Yeah. It's got a huge cast of characters on the album. I mean, how many singers and musicians are performing on the album?
I didn't count the total, but we have 15 singers doing 29 roles. It's common in the opera that if you have a small role, which is only in one of the acts, and then you have another similar small role in another act which has the same character of voice, you do a double role or even a triple role. You just change makeup and clothes and in between. Like we have a soldier who is singing 3 short lines in Act 3. It would be very pricey to get somebody to do only that. When we have other small roles for tenor.
So how do you convey what you hear in your head to the singers in the studio? How do you put your ideas to them to say, right, I want this, especially if you're not an opera singer yourself? How do you...
Opera singers are very, very good in getting into a role. You just describe the person, its character and the scenery, and they're fabulous in picking that up. It's a part of being an opera singer that you're like a vocal actor. So they're very easy to work with in that regard.
And were you in the studio all the time, sort of supervising what was going on, or did you work with a producer or a sort of...
I was the producer and the engineer. That's why I'm so worn out.
Right. So you had nobody else to lean on.
Well, we did have help from Lennart from Polar. Lennart Östlund, the legend who recorded Led Zeppelin and ABBA back in the days. So he helped us with the setup with the drums and a few other things in the beginning. But then, I mean, it's my studio, so then I was sitting there the rest of the time. And just to give you an idea, in the 80s there was a trick to overdub the guitars, and you would bring down the distortion to next to 0, and you would play 16 guitars. And with all these layers, it would just sound like a regular guitar, but much cleaner. And when you have a lot of stuff going on, like we do, it's good to have a much cleaner guitar that fits in and doesn't take so much space. We wanted to use 3 different amplifiers, so we overdubbed it 18 times. So that means every distorted rhythm guitar you hear are actually 18 guitars simultaneously. But we're not wizards. That means we can't just grab a guitar and every take is perfect. That means maybe 50, 60 takes to get those 18 takes that are really good. So 3.5 hours of guitar recording 50, 60 times.
No wonder you burned out.
That's weeks of just guitars. So that's very exhausting to work that way.
So when do you know, when it's very complex music, like I said, there's so many layers, when do you know when the last layer, when it's time to stop? Is there always a temptation, I'll just do one more, I'll just put another layer of vocals in, I'll just put some more keyboards or some Hammond organ or church organ? When do you know when's the time to stop?
There's no such thing as being ready. But it's like, if you're cooking and your guests are knocking on the door, you're ready.
Yeah.
To bring the food out.
Yeah.
So now it's every time when you've done the mix and you think, good, now we're done. Then you think, oh, sodding hell, we should have done this, we should have done that. There's no such a thing as a recording that you're 100% happy with. Yeah. You just have to feel when it's well enough.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel this is like the culmination of everything you've been working for the last 30 years? Do you feel this is the pinnacle of your work?
Well, this is the logical quintessence of what we did, because we more or less invented the opera method. So I guess this is something that shouldn't puzzle anybody that we've done, but I guess the only surprise is that it's so extensive. If you would have done a 1 hour rock opera, nobody would have, been surprised. But it's a little bit empty because I really don't know what to do next.
Have you got plans for maybe, to perform it on stage with the orchestras and the choirs and the sort of maybe the Albert Hall or something like that?
Yeah, we want to stage this, but I probably franchise it because I don't fancy sitting in some orchestral pit, on a chair and play 3 hours guitar.
Yeah.
I would rather sit in a front row with a good glass of sparkling wine or champagne and enjoy it in front. Yeah. So I would look for a production company that would like to franchise it, make this their next production, and I would like to co-direct it just to make sure they don't completely blow it up.
Cristofer, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really looking forward to the show tonight. Best luck with the show and best luck with the rest of the tour and the new album. It's great listening to it.
Thank you very much.